Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Mindspun, your channel for your music fix. And today, we wanted to talk about a video game soundtrack that has been in the minds of video gamers since 1996. We are talking about the soundtrack for Quake, composed by 9 Inch Nails, that, weirdly enough, has finally been officially released 24 years later. That is insane. It took even longer than Tool's Fear Inoculum. And what caused this release to happen this year is still not clear, alongside the release for the soundtrack of The Social Network, also composed by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who had previously collaborated with Trent Reznor on Ghosts 1 through 4. But 9 Inch Nails are just as conscious as everyone else that this launch came out of nowhere, as we can see by the post provided by the 9 Inch Nails official Twitter, which said the following. Just when you thought 2020 couldn't get any weirder, The Social Network and Quake are available on vinyl and shipping now. Who had that on their 2020 bingo card? Well, I had Aliens on my 2020 bingo card, but this year has been a crazy ride, man. So if I get abducted in Thanksgiving right before stuffing my face with mashed potatoes and gravy, I don't think anyone will even flinch. Now, the famous 1996 soundtrack was composed by 9 Inch Nails and it was originally pressed on the same disc as the game. The Quake soundtrack was otherwise commercially unavailable until its release on vinyl on September 16th, like we just mentioned. And Trent Reznor, the sole member of 9 Inch Nails at the time, also provided sound effects for the game. And as an interesting side note, the soundtrack is pressed onto the same disc as the game itself. Track 1 is relegated to the game data. So, in those times, I remember when video games switched to CDs that my bro and I would try to put certain games in the car stereo, and it would blow our minds when we could hear the soundtrack after skipping to track 2. Awesome times, man. Can't help but feel the nostalgia. And regarding how the soundtrack came to be, the collaboration between 9 Inch Nails and ID Software occurred strictly due to a mutual admiration for each other's work. Reznor provided his services to Quake completely free of charge. Aside from the first track that is a bit more driving, Quake is a predominantly ambient soundtrack, and was Reznor's first experimentation with the genre. He would later go on to win an Academy Award for his ambient soundtrack work. The music on Quake has been described as dark, immersive, and intended to accentuate the game's oppressive tone. Think subtle, disturbing, and hair-raising. About the soundtrack, Reznor said, "It is not music, it is textures and ambiances and whirling machine noises and stuff. We try to make the most sinister, depressive, scary, frightening kind of thing. And it has been fun." And when the Quake official soundtrack came out as part of the game, it received positive reception, with many appreciating how the music builds upon the game's atmosphere. Game critics had a lot of nice things to say regarding the soundtrack. For example, Trent Ward, in his 1996 review of the game for GameSpot, wrote, "Simply put, this is the best soundtrack ever created for a computer game." Ward went on to write about how the eerie sounds and unsettling background noises heightened the game's already tense atmosphere. Another review from Peter Glaugowski, writing for Destructoid, said, "Not only did it show that the industry was moving beyond being targeted solely at children, but it pushed the action of its game into overdrive." Another interesting side note regarding the soundtrack is that Quake's original packaging provided no official song titles. Some fans came up with unofficial titles, most of the time linking the song to the name of the level in which it first appears. The new titles are taken from the 2020 vinyl reissue that has just been released, and the track list is the following. We have Quake Theme, Aftermath, The Hall of Souls, It Is Raped, Parallel Dimensions, Life, Damnation, Focus, Falling, and The Reaction, with a total length of 58 minutes. And I have to say, this is pretty crazy to me that for 24 years, fans were guessing the titles, and until now, we finally have the names for the songs that Trent chose. And I have to say this was part of the charm in those days, that things were more mysterious or were easier to keep under wraps before the internet truly exploded. Also, Nine Inch Nails noted that the vinyl release was intended to be accompanied by a booklet of essays from two of Quake's developers, ID Software's John Carmack and the American McGee, but the booklet was blocked by a certain unnamed video game publisher. If you want to check out the booklet, we will post a link in the description box that takes you directly to a PDF of the booklet because we don't care about the publisher, to be honest. The booklet comes with some awesome info regarding the game. For example, that the nail gun was invented so that the Nine Inch Nails logo could be plastered on ammo boxes full of nails. Awesome pics of the crew at ID working in their first office with old school computers, and photos of the ID crew with Nine Inch Nails as well. Also, the essays as well are a really cool perspective of how it was working with Trent Reznor on the soundtrack back in those days. So it is really worth a read if you're a fan of video games, the 90s, or Nine Inch Nails. Well, that is it for today's episode. We hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please help us out with a like, sharing the video with your friends who might be interested, and let us know in the comments section if you have any memories regarding Quake's soundtrack. We always love to read the comments section and your feedback. Like always, we will see you all in the next episode, and please stay safe, everyone.